Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Casts. I'm Ed. Thanks ever so much for joining. Netrunner's most sedate, calm, daily news show. Because it's the only one. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you've all managed to catch up, if you weren't watching live last night, on what I can only describe as the rowdiest night in the last year of my life since lockdown. Had a couple of beers in preparation after break. Thanks for joining. I'd also had a couple of beers in preparation. I don't know if anyone noticed. Grim, good evening. Goshi, good evening. Solomir, thanks for joining. And how do I scroll up in the chat? And Kvitva, thanks for joining. And Rotage, thanks for joining as well. I've always wondered, actually. DNDBMBM, thanks for joining. It's the corp list this evening. That's right. Edgenator, thanks for joining. Hello and welcome. It's the corp list this evening, but we're taking a different pace on the walk down rotation lists. I'm joined this evening. Good evening, RC. Thanks for joining. I'm joined this evening by Rotage. Is it Rotage or is it Rotage or is it a different pronunciation?
I guess I get asked this quite a lot, and the honest truth is I don't know because I never designed it to be pronounced. I came up with this before these things even existed, so it's like 16 years old, no more than that. So
okay,
I don't know. So I think my favourite version is Rotage. I think that sounds quite
Rotage. Wonderful.
Yeah, sounds very over the top, but I honestly don't know. I don't mind. Happy to hear different ideas and suggestions what it should be. Yeah.
I like Rotage. Rotage sounds just the right amount of formal. I missed yesterday completely. Do I go back and watch? Jess, if you missed yesterday completely, I can't remember if you're joking or not. You should definitely go back and watch it. Tol, thanks for joining. Yes. Rotage, do you want to tell people who don't know you a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Yes, I'm Rotage, also known as Dave. Don't mind which one people use. I've been playing Netrunner since sort of halfway through the spin cycle. Around then, started going to events in 2000. I think until some point in 2014. Unfortunately, met Swifty in 2014, and life's gone downhill ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he did actually encourage me to start going to events, and then he's been going to events 2015, and then started going to lots and lots of events at that point, and just gone a bit over the top, and he's going to Netrunner events, seeing people and playing to some vague standard of okayishness, and just having fun, seeing everyone playing the game.
And you're quite the deck builder as well, aren't you? Again, for people who don't know.
I've come up with a few different things. Some things work, some things don't work. I think Diaper, which to be fair, I will not take the credit for Diaper. I found a Diaper list and then just kept playing it and refining it to death.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say popularised it, but I certainly was taken to a lot of events and other decks involving Brainstorm, crazy ways of winning that way.
Yeah.
Punitive decks, just seeing there's a loophole or something that can be exploited for my own personal benefit, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining me today. I've been looking forward to this, and you've created something for today. Obviously, today was the full corp spoilers for System Update, and we've been raided by Mr. Cowbird, but I think everyone had already left the show at that point. But thanks for the raid anyway. So, Rotage, you've done a little PowerPoint presentation for me.
I have, yes. I had some spare time, and I thought, as you kindly invited me, I should actually do something to help, a visual aid, to help people show what we're actually talking about. And I saw yesterday's effort, and that looked really good. And I thought this is a bit too formal and dull, but hopefully someone likes it.
Yes. No, I think it's very useful. Worth noting that Sway Princess in the chat has also done a rotation guide. If anyone's interested in that, I'm sure RC will be more than happy to post it in the chat. If not, just give me a shout and I'll send it across to you. It's very useful. Good evening, Light Spectre. Good evening, SCD. Good evening, Mr. Cowbird. Sanjay already talked about spreadsheets and smut. Fantastic. Rask, good evening. Fellow streamer Rask, quite new to Netrunner. If you haven't checked out the channel before, worth noting, Rask plays on Twitch, playing a variety of different games. Netrunner every Monday night. So thanks for joining, mate. Shall we start on this PowerPoint presentation, shall we?
Yes. Let's start on it.
Okay.
If it's built up too much and people are going to be hoping for something that's just literally just a load of pictures.
It's very useful. So we're going to start with what's in, and then we'll switch to what's out. So, yes.
Yeah, sounds good. So obviously we've got HB.
Yep.
Obviously managed to get the new what's in there early on this afternoon, which luckily didn't take too long. Obviously we've got Architects of Tomorrow been put in. Obviously that's not rotating out, but it has been put in. I think it's a nice choice. I think obviously we've had the previous HBID for Bioids, and I've forgotten the name of it. That's how little I've ever seen it or played it.
It just doesn't get played.
Exactly. Whereas I think this does see some playing standard. I've played it myself, so I think it's a nice include. It may encourage people who want to play the Bioids. So yeah, I think it's a good choice. What are your thoughts on it?
In terms of just the ID or the selection of cards, I think the ID is good. I think it's it is mid-tier Glacier going to be a thing. I don't really know, but certainly it's the home of it. It's Architects Tomorrow. I think both of us have been enjoying playing mid-range in Sports Metal, haven't we?
Yes.
And maybe with the supporters in here, I'm particularly looking at Ravana and Eli, plus potential cards in Gateway. Maybe there is a home for it there. Architects always feels quite strong when I play against it, but potentially doesn't have the oomph to win a game.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that's always intrigued me is the influence. Obviously, it's got only got 12 influence now. Obviously, I suppose you could argue they don't really spend influence on ice generally. They want to put Bioids in there as much as possible. But you wonder if they had more influence, would that help the card? I don't know the answer to that. But certainly, the fact you can get 4 credits, and unlike the other, we like we say and the other one, they were harder to get the value from. Is this? They have to pass ice unless they're killing the ice. They're passing the ice. Therefore, your ID is going to fire, and you are going to get value from it. And the fact it's 4 credits. It doesn't fire every turn. If it fires every couple of turns, you're doing pretty well from it. Yeah,
if it fires every second turn, it's very good.
Yeah,
and realistically, exactly. It probably will.
Yeah, and I think it's just making them make the runs. That's probably always been the tricky part, because if they sit back and don't make the runs, just run the remote, you're not going to get the value on it. So there's that. Project Vesuvius, I think there's a lot been said about it. I think we'll say probably all the 3-2s, similar thing. The solid 3-2s. I think obviously Wayland and Jake is slightly different, but yeah, this solid agenda, and I don't think there's really much we can really say about it. Really, that's not really been discussed.
Vitruvius, Marilyn, Eli, Roto Turret to an extent, Archive Men, and Biotic Labour, I'd say are all quite safe choices.
Yeah, they're all exactly. They all see play. Roto Turret probably a little bit less, but I think it is a nice include because it's got an end of run, it's got a trashed program, and we've got to bear in mind that obviously this will be used as part of the new format. So it's not just stuff for standard; it's also going to help allow those newer players who've got Gateway to move on to that next step, as it were, and can start playing. And I think having stuff like Roto Turret is just a nice include in there. But I think you're right. Yeah, it's probably worth looking at some of the cards that are probably a bit more of a surprise element. We've got Magnet. There's already been a lot of discussion about this, like why has this been included? Is there stuff that's out there it's going to be needed for? Because you look at what's currently we know about.
Currently we know Egret and Trapano's hosted.
Yes. Obviously we've had Parasite in Salvage Memories. There's been discussion whether that's in obviously something like that's in Gateway. We don't know because we don't know at the moment. We can only theorise what the situation is.
Yeah, Britain in the chat saying Chisel as well.
Chisel, yeah.
Sanjay, thanks for joining. Yes.
Yeah.
Kaiban, is Kaiban hosted? Yes, it is. And Ika is hosted as well. So there are a few things.
But it's just like, do those... Obviously, Egot we don't know because it's coming back. But the other ones don't see a huge amount of play. Now, whether this is some sort of future-proofing thing, whether it's something for Gateway, or whether they just wanted another... Because it still hasn't ended the run. And they just wanted to have that in there. We don't know. Obviously, in a couple of weeks, we will know the answer to that. So I think that's very much a watch this space, I think, at the moment. Ravana, yeah, is interesting. It's just obviously they wanted to have a borrowed in there. We've obviously lost Ichi and there's a few others that have gone. This is replaced.
Ravana's an interesting choice. It's an interesting choice. Does something a bit different. The numbers are really good on Ravana as well. 3-5. That it's potentially 2 end the runs or an end the run trash program or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's obviously it's just needing to have some other borrowers online for it to obviously start firing. But if you can, it's really good. And I think just can make. I think other people make the comment that Magnet being strength 3 at least means the common breakers have to boost and Gola has to start boosting. Abingdon has to boost. So there is that as well. That extra 1 strength can be quite important. And yeah, so then we come to Corporate Troubleshoot, which is coming back. That obviously left us when Core obviously rotated back in 2000. Am I going to play Guest of the Year? I'm going to play Guest of the Year 2008. I thought it was 18, maybe. Chat will tell us which one of us is right on this.
I'm going to go with 17 here.
Yeah, it was whenever Magnum Opus was.
Yeah, Just as 2017.
It was Magnum Opus 17, okay. And that was obviously that was quite a wild change. I think this is actually, apart from that, probably the biggest change I'd say with cards overall of what's happening. With
worth noting, it's no longer a connection subtype for the MCA silliness.
Oh god, yeah, that was. I remember that was. I won't lie that even I tried to dabble in that because that seemed fun. But yeah, Corporate Troubleshooter. That's an interesting card. I mean, obviously, one of the interesting things about it, which sometimes gets forgotten about, is for the remainder of the turn, not the run.
Yes.
Which the fact we live in a world of things like border control does sort of make it quite interesting. That you could boost some new pieces of ice, they break it, then you border control, and they've got to get back in again.
Yeah, sure.
Will it see play or not? It depends. Obviously, we haven't got Ash in this set, so it depends what other upgrades, if any of upgrades we get in Gateway. That will answer the question whether this is play. I will certainly play around with Corporate Troubleshooter because if I can boost a Brainstorm with that in Helheim and then ganked, then I'll be doing that, which will be fun.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, quite a decent selection there. Corporate Troubleshooter obviously stand out.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one that stood out for me. I think certainly all of these, anything new that we're getting back does intrigue me the most. But yeah, I think solid set, some good ice, some useful sort of key cards. Yeah, pretty good.
Jinteki, arguably a little bit less wild, should we say?
Yes. Obviously, there's nothing. We're getting nothing new in here. We're just getting some old favourites staying around. Obviously, as I said, the agenda is obviously they get 2. They get Nisei, obviously stand Common Run and House of Knives. I think you wonder if that's really sort of give PE a little bit of a bump, really, because obviously it's a really good agenda in PE. Again, I don't think there's really what else can we really sort of cover about this. Obviously, again, there's been some chat about Lotus Field.
Yeah, I was going to say Lotus Field's perhaps the most left field choice there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so we see Lotus Field again. That has got people to guess. Well, maybe it's something to do with Parasite because obviously you can't obviously power. Well, you could Parasite, it doesn't achieve anything. So there's some discussion about that. The fact you can't lower the strength. So again, that's caused people to sort of maybe theorise. about that.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know. Obviously, Snare's in there. Snare's obviously a classic card. We'll be coming to the cards that we aren't getting, which I think we'll probably end up spending more time on. And yeah, I think obviously some beautiful art on some of these cards.
Yeah, Grim in the chat saying nothing new. There's a teacup alpaca. Teacup alpaca.
That is very true. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
I actually, in particular, on the art side, I particularly like Nisei Mark II. It's quite a different style to the other cards art.
Wasn't that an all-top prize at one of the events not long ago? I'm sure I've seen this art before.
Potentially, no.
I'm sure I've seen this art somewhere. Okay. Just because saying that Junebug is going, we'll be definitely covering Junebug when we get to the rotated cards for
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Just because I have those neat arts.
There we go. That's not one I'd seen before.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh no, thanks, chat. One of the first prizes from Skipan, yeah.
And I think Snare, because I think they were done by Aki, because I think I have some of those as well from a York event that she ran. Because I have those as well somewhere floating around. For a lot of ones, they're really nice.
Okay. Yeah, that's some nice art. Cool. Anything else on Jinteki?
No, obviously obviously again we've kept Trigger Light for that fast advanced stuff, I guess, given that option. But yeah, I think we'll probably cover them probably a lot more in the rotation because I think
it's more
we mentioned some of the cards they're losing.
Loses, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone. By the way, we had quite a lot of people join. Anarcho Mushroom, my co-host last night. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you managed to wake up today. Welcome, Dis, Odd Job, Skipan, and the rest. NBN is obviously the most exciting.
There's a lot of news in here. So obviously Nero has come back. That has obviously been a very strong idea at sort of various times. I think there's often been, again, I don't know how much truth there is in this, but there was some belief that the corporate drawing cards wasn't a good thing, hence why you got the 17 influence. Until it became apparent that drawing cards is a good thing. It obviously accelerates your game plan. So we get that back. I guess to help support NEH going sideways, because I suppose what other ideas would they do that with?
CTM.
Not huge.
Probably.
CTM, I suppose, CTM. So I suppose, but obviously it plays quite different. You get the influence, but then you lose the punishment part.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see, again, once we know all the cards, whether there'll be some sort of sideways, NEH sort of decks start appearing.
Yeah.
License acquisition makes a reappearance. I'll be honest, I didn't even know it had rotated until I was doing this.
No.
So that was a bit of a surprise. Again, I've not seen a huge amount of play, but obviously, crucially, now we've got Sansan back, you've got a really nice target for it.
Yeah.
Because if you can score that, you get your Sansan only out the bin if you need to, but actually get it res for free. And obviously, Sansan's not unique.
It's obviously support. It's obviously support for NEH with Team Spo going as well.
That is an excellent point. Again, Team Spo is obviously going, so obviously that does enable you to sort of do some shenanigans. But obviously with the Sansan, potentially you could score fast advanced license acquisition and then res another Sansan somewhere else.
Yeah.
Just have two of them on the go. Obviously not on the same server, not unless you want to get the game loss. So definitely avoid that. And obviously, so obviously Daily Business Show has survived yet again. And I think why not? I think this is a solid card, and I think it's that. I think there's been a few questions about psychographics. Obviously, that's been kept, but obviously, I think there's been a lot of debate about what's the plan for that? How are we going to be dishing out tags to people?
I wonder if it's there as much as anything for support for Reality Plus.
That's true. That's actually a really, really good shout, and I've always liked it as potentially as one-off in case someone doesn't respect your tags. Then at least you can severely punish them and have them bail as well.
Yeah,
means
absolutely.
you really, really can punish them.
Yeah.
But I think not much I'd say really. A lot of solid ice we've seen around quite a bit, and reverse accounts also staying around, which I don't mind. It's kind of a nice card just to again punish people who don't want to run.
No, I'm fully happy, fully on board with this selection. I think every card I'd find a place for in a deck as an NBN player. Moving on to Wayland. Standouts here. Number one, obviously, building a better world art is phenomenal.
Oh, that's yes,
and it's a shame it's on building a better world because I don't think it will see a ton of play, and it deserves to. It deserves to.
Yeah, no, there's some really, really good cards. I like the Punitive as well. That seems really nice.
Yeah,
and I like Punitive as a card anyway. So,
good.
But again, do love all the art. And again, yeah, obviously they get free agendas, but free agendas that do see a lot of play. So I think nothing against that. Obviously, Archer, a nice will been sort of staple whaling cards for a while. Autumn's just a really solid code gate. I really like Autumn. It gives you the end run, and if someone's got the AI, you can at least keep them out.
Yeah.
And Christian Good's a really nice card to have just in case there's those powerful run events. You can just keep them in check. So yeah, I think it's a really solid list. Corporate Town's really the one interesting one. Yeah, all pretty balanced.
So Corporate Town, I was very surprised. Good evening, by the way, everyone that's joined Infinite. Jester saying all the Wayland art is sweet. I fully agree. Corporate Town's really nice to stay. Thornwolf, thanks for joining. I didn't realise it was legal. I had not seen any play. When I first started playing, I played Corporate Town quite a lot. Right at the start, because I thought it was cool. And I hadn't seen it in the wild maybe for a couple of years, but interesting. And I just wonder, it feels like it's a card you could build around, and certainly it keeps powerful resources in check in a way. Yeah, unusual choice, but
yeah. Is license acquisition ignoring all costs? By the way, I can't remember. I was just wondering if it could be some fun combo of license acquisition and Corporate Town just to ignore the agenda cost.
Is it ignoring all costs? Yes, it is. It is. License acquisition is ignoring all costs.
Okay,
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know why you'd be doing this, but yeah, just could be something amusing to do. And obviously we could have done it before when it rotated, but yeah. Still always like to sort of consider these crazy options like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, I think Wayland. I mean, you've got Punitive, which is one of my favourite cards, and so I'm happy if that had gone. I'd be quite sad. So, as you say, you just got to build and a better world deck and look at that idea a bit more.
Yes, it is stunning. T Pickwin in the chat saying Jameson Fast Advance, Jameson Tag a Bag, Jameson Shell Game. It's an amazing ID. Jameson is a lot of fun. I agree.
It's I played against it a few times, particularly I think Guy. Some people will know of Guy, and just terrifies me playing Guy. It really does. It's like Jameson's like I'm just scared.
Isn't it the Oxford meta where I think Guy plays is pretty brutal, isn't it, in terms of wacky ways to kill you?
Yeah, I think just that, and that's the thing. You have to, and then against those sort of plays, you just panic, and then you just lose yourself at that point because you'll just go down crazy routes just to avoid some deaths and other things can't happen. But it's great fun though. I absolutely love that sort of stuff.
Cool.
Yes, Jessica. Yeah, guys like the Oxford player when the original Oxford. I think the only original Oxford player left from when I started.
Okay.
But yeah. And then we got some neutral cards, which is a smaller slide.
Cards.
Yeah. I was a bit annoyed that I couldn't think of a way of fitting them into previous slides, so they get a little side of their own. Pad, Enigma, obviously. Oh, Subliminal Message has not got a new thing. That's naughty of me. Pad, Enigma, obviously been around since the beginning. I don't think there's really much to say about those. Subliminal Messaging, obviously we've seen that in Salvage Memories. It's an interesting include. Obviously it saw play when it was originally around. Be interesting if it does see play now. Corp has more econ options. Could see some play potentially. If you're on a deck that doesn't want to go sideways and you want to sort of plus play your one remote and make sure they can't actually really cheaply get in, they meant to get money for no clicks, which effectively is what the message gives you. Could be good, and obviously there could be some wacky combo with Jeeves potentially. I don't know what that would be, but that could be a thing as well.
Yes.
Anything else to say on that?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think of a home for subliminal messaging. Thorn saying corporate town for the rig shooty outfit. I've played against that outfit deck. It's horrible. Really horrible. Oslet likes this in various decks. Laura, shout out to Laura, taking a break from Netrunner at the moment, but we tried it out in a variety of decks when we were doing testing earlier in the year. I don't like it. She does, so it's free money.
Jessica says for Mirror Morph, and that's quite interesting, because Mirror Morph, does like this obviously an operation they can play, even just take a credit, do another action. Yeah, so I can definitely see Mirror Morph potentially looking at it.
Yeah, this saying Restoring Humanity as well. And actually, I hadn't really thought of the gateway IDs. Yeah.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, so certainly, it'd be interesting. I'm just reading for so I suppose I could say that's a really good shout. And again, these are the sort of things you usually need to sort of factor in the new cards, and then obviously and that's where the reason they've been put in is for new cards. There might be cards that we haven't even seen yet that may interact with.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess now we get on to the more interesting part of what we're losing.
So as you can see,
obviously,
big names there.
Yeah, obviously in these ones I couldn't put all the pictures, all the cards on, because it would be the most ridiculous slide ever, so I had to sort of pick. So again, feel free to argue in the chat whether I picked what I argued were the 6 more important cards. There should be quite a bit of debate about this. Obviously IDs, not too many strong ones, although I think Spark actually hasn't rotated. Why is Spark on there? Have I really screwed that up? Spark should be on there.
Did you mean Soul?
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah, I think because Spark was. I think the reason is there was a technical over my spreadsheet. So ignore Spark because Spark is still legal.
Spark is fine. Oh no!
So I don't know.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, Ginevra's saying a bit sad about Blue Sun. I have to say, although I started the game on Harp and I played Harp almost exclusively for the first year of playing Netrunner, I'm probably now most sad about Blue Sun.
Yeah, no, Blue Sun is definitely the sad one for me because that's one I would play quite a lot. So Blue Sun going is quite sad. Obviously RP is quite a key card for Jinteki because obviously that was there if you want to go sideways with RP. That's why you tied with Jinteki, you'd use RP. So that's obviously quite a big loss. Kronos, we didn't see much of it, but obviously it was just horrendous with that card, the operation, the 4-cost operation where you can just do lots of net damage. If you guess the right cards.
Zeroth saying, can I just jump in here or start the PowerPoint from the beginning? I'd say jump in here and then watch back. We've just started looking at the cards we're losing. We've gone through the cards that have come in already, so you could watch the end of this and then jump onto the start and get in reverse order.
Obviously, I'm making you doesn't see much play, but the reason I put it there was because obviously it's been around since the very beginning. And I just thought it's just worth having a sort of moment for that. Other IDs, and obviously some of the other IDs we're losing. I think don't see a tremendous amount of play, if I'm being perfectly honest.
No. Maybe Biotech sees the most there. I know Sanjay's a big fan of Tenin. Harmony Medtech feels like RH replaces it anyway. Cybernetics is fun. If I want to play something a bit different. Kronos, I'm very glad to see go. I hate it. I lost to Swery Princess and Heavy in a tournament 2 games in a row, both on Kronos, and I hate it. So I'm glad to see that go. I'm sad to see RP go, but I think everyone's a bit fed up with RP following the last 3 months of everyone playing RP.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I say Blue Sun's the one for me that I am generally sad about, but I'm hopeful it will come back one day. I'll have to play. I just have to play something else. I'd
say that's probably what I found the most surprising decision in terms of the IDs was keeping Building a Better World and losing Blue Sun. I am salty. Yes.
I suppose you can't really use the argument that Blue Sun for the newer players because he was originally in System Core anyway, so you can't really use that argument. But I guess you obviously probably had to have Oversight AI in there, so obviously by getting rid of Blue Sun it does free up another slot. You then don't really need Oversight AI anymore. But I think it's also freshening things up. I think Blue Sun could easily come back in the future. I would like to have kept it, but I understand why it's gone. So
just Just doing a little ban in the chat.
Okay.
There we go. Cool, gone.
Cool.
Sorry about that. One of your adverts that you've had on yours as well.
Oh yeah, God yeah. I need to when I do streams, I need to do much better admin. Well, I don't do any admin at all. So yeah, I think.
And then
I think someone's sort of commented about a harmony inside an Ed and Rotage is a massive loss to the meme deck enthusiasts. Yeah, that's a fair point. Mustn't forget them. Now we come to agendas. Obviously, we should point out that in Czechia you've lost the most things because they're losing a big box, so hence there'll be a lot more Genteki cards.
Of course.
Also, they're losing quite a few agendas. Obviously, losing medical breakthrough, which potentially impacts sort of the whole fast advance. That suite where they can just play the 3/2s, play medical breakthrough, use Jeeves and political dealing to do some sort of fast advance, never advanced deck. They've lost one of the key agendas from that. Obviously, Future Perfect.
Toll in the chat just asking, are we still waiting for new cards? We're about halfway through now, so this is all of Update is now released, and we're about about a third of the way through Gateway cards. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Mike. Yeah.
So Future Perfect, obviously there would be those Genteki lists who would play basically 3 Obercarters, a Fetal, and 3 Future Perfect to make all have defensive agendas. Obviously they've lost quite a big chunk of that. Also, they keep Obercarter, which probably was the most important one, but still that does hurt them. Field Test obviously was been played in Acer, but obviously that could be swapped out for other things. But obviously it was quite a handy card. But whatever sort of impact there. Hollywood of Innovation. I know Jessica's going to be very, very sad about that because obviously that was a staple of SSO, and I don't know what SSO does at this point. Obviously they've still got City Works. They could play Oaktown, but I don't know what else there really is beyond that they can do.
No, especially with Casting Call gone as well. If you wanted to force things upside down.
Not
that SSO did that very often, but yes.
And also some other ones on there that we can sort of see that have also gone, but as I said, some of the other ones wouldn't see a huge amount of play. Obviously, Paper Child Party Wreck, I don't think I ever saw play, but they were in the system core, so the only time they really did see play was in that. Futures now saw a little bit of play, I guess. Some sports decks would play that.
So sports decks, I was just looking at that. It's something I'd only just noticed. Casting Call has rotated. Yeah, that's right, Toll. Research Grant, Self-Destruct Chips, and Futurist now all see play in Spombo. It'd be interesting to see what Spombo's agenda suite looks like now.
I suppose the interesting thing was that he played them not for any real reason, or probably maybe Futures now. They just wanted 3/1 agendas. Yeah. So it depends if we get other 3/1 agendas in Gateway, then they'll be quite happy with that, really.
Absolutely. Explodapalooza probably seeing less play than it did a year and a half ago. But a staple at times, a staple agenda in NBN decks, I would say.
Yeah, certainly it was times it was a really heavily used card. Certainly in sort of its early days when there was less available options, less so now, and obviously they got Bologna now, which does kind of, I know it's a 5/3, but it does cover that whole. You gain some money from Scott. I guess it's works slightly differently in some regards, but it's less used. But yeah, maybe a little impact on it on an NB index.
Yeah, there's certainly some impactful IDs there. IDs agendas there.
Yeah, certainly some. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I feel there's probably more impactful agendas going than obviously ID wise. When you had really RP and Blue Sun, which I think were quite key.
Yeah.
Now we come. Now we're just coming through to the assets. Obviously, quite a few sort of big names here. Obviously, where to start? Obviously, Cybernetics Court obviously was heavily used in the Acer list. That's gone. So obviously, unless we see some sort of placement, they've got to change how they work a little bit. Can't have all the cards in hand.
Yeah.
Team Sponsorship is a staple card in so many asset decks. Obviously, a key one for just keeping the engine going and just punishing. If the runner doesn't trash deck, you can bring back the other stuff they've trashed. So just a bit of a nightmare. So I definitely would hurt the sideways decks. Junebug, well,
Junebug's pretty huge that it's going.
And obviously, we don't know if Gateway will there be a replacement for Dreambug. We just don't know at the moment. I certainly hope there is something along those lines, because it's just such a staple and just a nice card to have.
It would be unusual for PE to exist in a space without an advanceable trap.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously, Tech Stardom hasn't seen as much play as it did. Obviously, it's very popular at one point again, just for those asset decks, just to go fetch the key cards they needed. So if it was like an influence card, they can have as many copies. It was great for that.
Yeah, I played it as a one-of in my RP list at Worlds. I just found it gave me a little bit more consistency, a little bit more speed, but it was card 49 for sure.
Obviously, Psychic Field, that was more of just a personal fault, because obviously it was just that one card, that unadvanced card that you could just do horrendous damage to you, and obviously that was that combo with Price Tech where if you advance them in the wrong order and lost a side game, you'd lose the game. That deck was around for a very short period of time. Very, very nasty. And obviously Grey gets 4 and 9, so, and I don't like playing against 4 and 9, so I'll be a little bit sad that's going. And Contract Killer, again, probably not seen as much play, but again, there's always been that card where they could just advance it and just have a way to punish the runner for not running. So again, it's sort of another sort of very small hole that's just sort of gone, and just one of those things you had to factor in with an advanced card. Is that a Ronin? Is that a Junebug? Is that a Contract Killer? Well, now your question is going to be quite different when you see that advanced card, because some of those options just don't exist anymore now.
And Ghost Branch has gone. I was under the impression that Ghost Branch was staying, but I got that information wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is going.
Yeah, we've lost quite a lot of traps, as Tolls mentioned. Yeah, that's a fair point. Ghost Punch is always interesting because it costed 0 to fire, and I've certainly had games, and I think Odd Job in the chat has only got me one of those where we was playing as an advanced card. Like, is that a Ghost Branch or a Bill? Is it a Ghost Branch and a Bill? I can't remember which one it was, but I guessed wrong. That's all I remember. Didn't end well.
I locked you out recently with a aggressive secretary, I think, in our drafting tournament.
Oh, yes, aggressive secretary, yes. Yeah, because I think I was not expecting that at all. So again, that's another key one gone. Obviously, Adonis was a very, very popular card at one point, but it sort of faded away as other econs sort of come on board.
Yeah.
So certainly, Sunju, but also if RP going, that's kind of not too relevant. Blacklist surprised me because I thought they already had rotated. I was a bit surprised by that. Because I would have played that if I'd known about that. But it's always worth checking. But yeah, some of the other cards, not really seen. Some like World Plus, I don't think I've ever seen that played. Student loans, I know. I think there might be in the chat played that regional and had people conceding against it. It was just awful. I think I don't know what they did. They had to build. This is Alex. They came to an event with a pile of cards, literally a pile of cards. Borrowed some cards from us and built a deck on the fly and made the cut in the regional. Just unbelievable. And student loans was a key card in the deck.
It's like that's quite good at Netrunner or something. Who knew?
He's just an amazing person. Just give him a pile of cards and make an amazing deck somehow. And you play that deck, you can't play it, but they can somehow. It's just incredible. But I think the main the main takeaway is advanceable traps and asset spams taking a bit of a hit.
Yeah.
From these.
Yeah, particularly I think the most important card going there is Team Spo. Cybernetics Court going is big, but I think Asa will survive it. Junebug, I feel like there's got to be some kind of replacement for it, just to make sense of PE. And Psychic Field, I think there's the fear of it, but realistically, you come across it quite rarely.
But I suppose it's for me. It's just not having to make that thought process anymore. Not going, okay, I'm playing against what appears to be a mystery deck. Yeah. That card is at Psychic Field. I don't have to make that thought process anymore. So it's just one less option, which is a bit of a shame, really, because it's always nice having those multiple options having to consider. But again, we don't know what's in Gateway. We have no idea what equivalent cards there could be.
Of course. Early Premiere I played a lot, but I can't remember what it does. I used to play Franchise City in Early Premiere.
Early Premiere, if I remember, I think if there's a card on the table, you could put an advancement token on it. I think, but because it's an asset, made it a bit difficult to use.
Yeah, sure. Gene Splicer's still around. Yes, yeah, good point. And Gene Splicer probably quite good in a number of the gateway decks.
I think Gene Splicer is quite good. Yeah.
If you're running 3 pointers and you need a fake point, fake 1 pointer, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I've definitely done that myself. And it's just a great. Actually, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Basically.
Absolutely.
So that's always good.
Yeah. Onto the ice.
Yes. So I suppose obviously there's probably 2 standout ones for me. Obviously, Tour Guide again. Someone's already mentioned another nail in the coffin. Although, depending obviously with Parasite, obviously it lost a bit of favour. But obviously Parasite, we don't know what the equivalent is. We've spoken earlier on about the fact that there's some hosting stuff appearing potentially because with what we're seeing. But obviously Tour Guide does hurt them, and obviously Data Raven. That's a real surprise. Again, we don't know if there's going to be any equivalents on these, but I really hope there is, because Data Raven, I love the fact that it's not just I've got someone taking it for your ice, you are taking a tag. Unless you've got a bit of tech down, then you are just taking a tag from this. So I've always liked that, and or I can bounce off it. It's always sort of, it doesn't encourage you, it doesn't stop you from running, and you can then make that decision whether you want to carry on or not. Obviously, Kamainu doesn't see as much play, but obviously, can be very, very nasty. And the fact that you may try and get low on cards to get the cost down, and then you get punched for something else. I'm sure we've all at some point run to a Cortex site early and lost the game. I'm sure we've all done that at some point.
Of course.
The classic install Desperado, make a run, dead play. So bit of shame to see that going. Crick obviously was obviously quite a nice, just everything just a one-off, shove it in archives. Now archives is very expensive to run if those run decks want to make those free runs to get some value. And Spiderweb is really good. The fact it was just good take against Boomerang, really.
I think all of the cards you've highlighted there are impactful. Maybe with the exception of Crick with RP going, I don't think it's sort of play outside. But
that's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, RP paid quite a lot of it because it really wanted it. Other Jinteki decks, they might have a one-off, but yeah, you're probably right there. But looking at the other cards, obviously Wall of Static is a real it seems a reasonable amount of play, I would say, and obviously that and Hunter have been around since the very beginning. Sort of that and Enigma with the 3 neutral bits of ice. Only Enigma survived. Those 2 have gone. Again,
Little Engine hadn't rotated. Goodness me. Good evening, Bushi. Thanks for joining.
I'm just reading some of the other comments in the chat. You should take an idea. Would I probably really like Crick? Yeah, that's a fair point actually.
Very much so.
Stop the Zarko runs. So probably would have seen a bit of play in there.
Maybe there's a Crick replacement. Maybe it's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a trap. Probably one of the worst ice I've ever seen. I don't know where to start on that. So, and in fact, there's a lot of ice in here that. I mean, I've always amount of times I looked at Labdog and then realised it says the runner chooses and just gone, play that way. Shira, I think I saw Res once, just like, I don't know what's going on anymore. There's a lot of ice.
Enforcer's a favourite of mine. Sad to see that go. Turing maybe dropped out of favour a little bit recently. But again, had been a staple for quite a long time in the game. And Rainbow, a drafting favourite going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's probably everyone's got their own little personal favourites in there that they're going to be sad to see going. But yeah, I don't think I think there's. I think the ice
that you've highlighted, I can't disagree with. Other than Crick, maybe, but how does Reality Plus exist in a meta with no Raven? It's a big question, and we are gonna have to see, I think, ways for MBN to put tags on the runner.
And I think so as well. And as I said, it'll be interesting to see. I suppose of all the stuff we've seen so far, that's probably Data Raven's the biggest surprise, I would say, because I don't think anyone's really complained about Data Raven ever. and I think people will be a bit sad to see it go. So we've just got to hope and pray that you have something lined up for us.
Raven going sucks for Acme. Again, Acme probably like tier 2.5. Without Data Raven, really going to struggle.
And Negotiation was a valid point, maybe because it has a trace. We know that obviously they're not getting rid of traces, but also they want to sort of move a bit away from it. So maybe there's
a deciduous ability. I thought was a really nice way of describing it, rather than evergreen. It will come back at some point, but just giving it a bit of a break.
I think that's fair. And so
next we're on to
I guess
operations.
And I think this is where things start getting a bit more. I think a little bit more spicy now, because we see some key cards going. Obviously, IPO is almost in every corp deck. That's going as it seems, which is very interesting.
It's wild.
Exactly. Is there going to be an equivalent for this? We'll have to sort of wait and see. Obviously, I'm very sad about EMP going because that's the staple of all my brainstorm decks. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Again, you'd hope for an equivalent, but then you think, well, hang on, what would the equivalent be? Because I don't really know how you change new LMP. But I don't know how you would do that. And we do have that new do net damage if you score an agenda on turn, which is very different. I appreciate, but it is still a net damage card by operation. Obviously, Mushin Notion. Obviously, we've all been there. The classic turn 1 Mushin Notion advance. And then what do you do at that point? So I know a lot of people will be very sad to see that going because, again, stable for a lot of people for their game plans. C-Source obviously does not seem such a huge amount of play, but obviously, again, that and close accounts have been a stable for such a long time. I know Swifty was a massive fan of C-Source, close accounts, hard-hitting news, out of sync. Obviously, that's not happening anymore now. But obviously, we know the replacement for C-Source, though, so we've obviously seen that there's still an equivalent card to cover that off, so we can see why C-Source is gone. And obviously, Fast Track, again, not seen tons and tons of play, but obviously some decks. I think, I guess Titan would probably be playing that, but obviously Titan doesn't exist anymore now. But there's still, that's obviously going.
I see it from time to time. I put it in Argus before if I'm like really trying to rush out.
That's true. Obviously, you've seen quite a few transaction things going. Obviously, we've kept building a better world. We've lost IPO. We've lost Beanstalk Royalties, which should all be auto included in those decks. They've also lost blue level clearance, which they may or may not play potentially. So we have to assume that doesn't leave a huge amount of transactions. I don't know. I have not kept account of it, but doesn't seem very many transactions left to Blackie play building a better world as it stands. What they've got a hedge fund. Don't know what else actually, top of my head.
What's the one with agenda counters? Advancement counters?
Don't know off the top of my head.
You know the one I mean though, don't you?
Someone in the chat, help, please.
Someone in the chat, what's the card that gives you money for advancement counters on? Masscom. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Jess.
Oh, Masscom. Oh, yes, thank you. But that's always very more of a specialised card. You had to build a little bit around that, I guess. With the other cards, you just play them. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what we've got. Obviously, they've got red level and blue level still, but that's red level, blue level. Well, they haven't got blue level actually, because blue level's gone. So they've just got red level, and that's so. I'm gonna say there's got to be some transactions surely to help support building a better world. Stream is unexpectedly PG today. I mean, we can change that. I don't mind. I can be non-PG.
Just to clarify, Narco Mushroom saying neither Ed nor I have been drinking. I'm on my third beer, so I've had a couple just to tide me over. Yes.
And I've only had 3 beers this whole year, so yeah.
Blimey.
I did consider having some drinks beforehand. Before that would just be really bad idea. I probably should have actually, because bad ideas are actually often good ideas. BBW can play stock buyback now. I guess it could actually. That's true. That still exists.
It's reasonable.
Yeah. So I don't think. Much
casting call. I'm sad about. I think it's a fun card that you can build around. Not necessarily a good card, but a fun card.
It was a fun card, yeah. We also had some fun with that, yeah. Is there a particular algorithm current? I don't know if I should bring up that current. What is predictive algorithm?
I thought it was.
I think it's a current. I don't know if that should really be on there. 'Cause it's a bank card, but there we go. It is on there. Anyway, I guess we can. Yes.
Hey.
I don't know what's left. Is it upgrades?
Upgrades another.
Upgrades another. Yes. So we finally. I'm going to start off this first. We finally get rid of the comments. How many times does it happen? You're having a conversation. You're asking about how does something work in a run. Someone explains it to you, and then someone will post that bloody crow, going, "Oh, what about if it's? Or what about that scenario? No more. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Now it's gone.
It's never funny.
It's gone.
Don't do it. You're bad people.
It might be funny the first time, but after the 100th time of that fucking crow, it's gone. It's done. With the end of it, done. Okay, that's the highlight for me of all this rotation. That's gone. See ya. Don't come back. Back to more serious matters. The upgrades I found really interesting. In the sense that 3 jumped out at me, and maybe 1 a bit less so. Well, 3 like sort of semi-important ones, and then the rest doesn't see a huge amount of play. Obviously, Batty's obviously been quite a big one, not only as sort of your defensive upgrade, but also as your sort of, if you just want to be a bastard upgrade, and just sort of fire some horrible things and do some nasty things. Definitely there's sort of no really equivalent to it. The only other way is to boost the ice strength using Helheim or Corporate Troubleshooter, whereas with Batty, it's good for that. And also for rig shooting. Obviously rig shooting, love that, because actually runner's got all the money, got all the breakers out. Batty though could just cause an absolute nightmare. Ash, I just hasn't seen huge amount of play. I know personally I've been playing it recently.
You've been playing it in sports, haven't you?
Yeah, and I find it quite nice because actually making a very expensive remote, if they do get in, then they can't deal with Ash, because obviously, again, the trace for, if they get through, they've again got to trash Ash and just so much money. But again, it's got a trace on it, so again, we don't know if they're going to be some equivalent for HB. They've got Corporate Troubleshooter. Will they get something else? We don't know. Breaker Bay, I know, was used quite a bit in the Spombo decks, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just to do some nonsense, just keep reoccurring things. Obviously, that's gone. So obviously
did you see the other day someone posted a turn 2 win with Spombo?
Turn 2 win. Oh my god! How?
It was really cool. I'll link you. They posted it.
Oh wow! Please do. Yeah.
It was our friend in East Asia that we were talking about just before the stream.
Oh wow! Okay, I have to look.
Very cool.
Seen that.
Very cool. Yeah.
They
only messed it up once as well. They only had to undo click once.
Yeah. So as for obviously the other cards going again, a lot of these not seeing a huge amount of use.
No.
Product placement was obviously seen used. Obviously does see use in Spark, and obviously Spark hasn't rotated, unlike what I said earlier in the slides. Obviously, Spark would be a little bit sad seeing that used, because that was definitely a staple in Spark. Not much else. But a lot of these cards, again, like you kind of forgotten about Oak Grid. I mean,
Ryan Knight occasionally, Mason Bellamy occasionally, but really they're not cards you see, are they?
No, I mean Valley Grid. I know I've always tried to make Valley work, never succeeded, and other people have tried. So a bit sad to see it go. Old Hollywood Grid, a little bit of, obviously with Critic gone, it still didn't see much more play. Neo Tokyo Grid, I don't think ever saw play.
No,
ever.
If
I'm being perfectly honest.
No.
So yeah. So I think is that the last slide? I should know. I did these slides. I can't remember. I think it should be.
We're back to the start.
Overall
thoughts. So, who and the chat as well. Who do we think are the big winners and losers on the Corp side?
Obviously, Jinteki have lost the most amount of cards, so you could potentially say maybe they have lost the most, and I'd probably say they probably have, because actually they've lost RP and obviously that whole sideways deck. Obviously, they've still got a solid agenda suite. The plan list hasn't basically lost their agenda suite. They've still got the Nisei, they've still got the Cyber decks, and they've still got the Avocata. So somewhere they're not really lost out. But again, as it stands now, P's obviously lost quite a bit. RP doesn't exist anymore, so Jinteki's lost options they could explore, basically. It feels, as it stands, they're very limited to playing your standard plan list. I don't know what the other list could be. I suppose they've lost quite a lot. Obviously, Wayland have lost. Obviously, they've lost Blue Sun. They've had Titan banned, so you could argue Wayland have as it stands, have probably lost the next most, I would say.
Yeah.
'Cause
Arguably
I don't know what.
in the weakest position currently in the meta as well.
Mm,
Arguably.
um, yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah.
HBs, obviously, they've lost some cards. Obviously, the Astalis have lost a little bit, but they might be able to recover. Obviously, Bombo, after sort of watch the space, Game Changer hasn't gone, although it's probably wouldn't take much for that to go away, basically. So it sort of feels like it's living. If that becomes good, it'll just go anyway. So they've limited borrowed time. MBN, CTM is pretty sad now. What did CTM lost? I suppose Team. I suppose
Team
so. Unless I'm
Spy.
playing Team Sponsorship, obviously they've lost. I suppose one thing to remember.
World CTM wasn't on Team Spy though, was it? I'm just making that up. I've got a feeling it wasn't.
No, you might be. I think you might be right there. And I don't know what's played. Obviously, some of them may have played Sea Source Exchange, but not a huge amount did. But yeah, I think Asset Spam taking it. I suppose it had Raven in it. Team Spy, so it was playing. Yeah. But I suppose the Murder CTMs, because they obviously didn't play Team Spy, those things they probably cope anyway. Obviously, everyone's. I think
psychographics being saved is big for CTM, I suppose. Scoring the El Grande Bill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's an option. And they got Sansan back, obviously.
Yeah.
I suppose of all the cards brought back, and Sansan, will it see play? Obviously, we saw Salvage Memories. It's all probably still a little bit of play. Obviously, it's a bit of sort of different world. The whole Blue Sun playstyle's gone. Yeah, again, that's the fact that my favourite things were Blue Sun or New LMP are both gone. So I don't really want to play sort of Glacier Sports. I have been playing it, but as that was just, I don't know, that was sort of, no, I want to play more nonsense stuff. And no AMP eliminates one of my things of how to do that. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Largely similar, to be honest. I'm very excited to play Nero Hub. I think I got into the game just after it had rotated the first time. I might be wrong there. I'm interested to play it. I played some testing games this afternoon, and it felt quite good. And fast, like just super fast, if you could get it going. I think Wayland's probably the biggest loser. Because the two key Jinteki decks, presuming that PE gets an advanceable trap or two, I think PE and Polana are both okay. Ag Infusion's probably absolutely fine with all of this as well. Maybe plays Batty would be the only loss to Ag Infusion decks. I think HB can probably find alternatives to what's been lost. I think MBN's the biggest shake-up, but maybe what's come in could be as strong as what's left.
Yeah, and I guess Ag Infusion compare that new upgrade that Techie got, the one where you trash 2 cards and put your credits and end the run.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they could just sort of, and obviously they trashing ice, and then trashing cards from their hand. That's obviously quite a tax on them, but yeah, at least they've got an option. Would you say Wayland, Blue Sun's gone? That's it. That's it. There is no equivalent you play. I guess I could try a bit Build of Nations, not Build of Nations, Build a Better World, because actually, that was also something I've always wanted to play more of. So it'll be interesting to see what transactions we get. And Jessica mentioned SSO going. That's a fair point. I did play a little bit of SSO as well, and it was fun. So I suppose Wayne actually, I've changed my mind actually. Wayne has lost a lot because I guess, and even Argus, unless it gets a data Raven equivalent back, what do they
Argus
do?
would really struggle. Argus would really struggle.
Boran
Wu saying it's time for Sleety M to step up, I feel. I agree, I'd like to see a Sleety M deck.
I faced that deck at Worlds.
You did.
I did and lost. Although I'm still glad I managed to get out of a horrible situation and not die, but then I still lost the game. But that was just, So I still need to look at that Chief Sleet stuff because that was a lot of fun. But I suppose Wayne, just going back to where it was, which for a long time, for some of us who've been around quite a while, it was always just terrible faction. which never did well, and it's like a lot of things just maybe going back to where it was before, and maybe it's time for someone other factions to shine. Maybe. So.
Yeah, Geneva was saying maybe Data Raven replacement changes factions. Maybe there isn't a Data Raven replacement, but if there is, maybe it's moving into a different faction. It's entirely possible.
It would be interesting. I mean, do other factions give back tags? Really? I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Wayland does to a degree, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean they're focusing more punishment for having tags.
Tags,
But
I suppose outfit rig shooters still looking fairly alright.
I suppose. I mean, it has lost Batty when they would play a Ruzma Batty, so they have lost that. You do get corporate troubleshooter with only one influence, so that is they've got a lot of money, so they could have to pay into that to get it to fast. So that's potentially an option. So that could be a thing, but they've still lost things they can go off and do. And I say I think a lot of this is we need to see what's Western Gateway, and I think that'll be the key thing. I would be shocked if there's not so many things we've discussed there are some equivalents for, but I don't know if it'll be equivalent for everything. So we can see which things survive in one form, which things don't, and then we can really fully evaluate it. And
it's worth noting that the as yet unplayed, I forget the proper name for Sea Source, Ocean Source, but I can't remember the proper name for it. Does look really strong. It does look like a really strong way to give out tags, and obviously Argus, public trail. Thanks very much, Simply the Onion.
It's interesting, compared to Sea Source. I know we've already discussed this sort of already, but it's interesting to sort of see how it's strong in Sea Source in some ways, but weaker in other ways. Which does make it quite interesting. And just been going. Even as long as you've got the full credits, play it, and then just bank up the runner if you want to. Which could be with the Sea Source, you can never really play it like that. You play 2 and then just pay the 3 or whatever. So, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And chat, anything else from chat? Anything else the chat wants us to discuss? I guess quickly. Anything they feel we've not covered, or anything that we should cover more?
Let's see if there's anything else in the chat. T Pickwin, Drago just drawing fast. CTM sad. How strong was the rusing yesterday? I don't know what you're talking about. Yesterday was yesterday. Probably most interesting going forward. So, for me, Near Earth Hub, and for me, Built to Last. They're the 2 for me.
I think for me, as I said, Build of Nations, because I think there's got to be more transactions. So I'm intrigued to see what those are going to be. Biggest winner. I know someone's mentioned what's the biggest winner. Biggest winner for me would be, I guess it's more a case of who's lost the least at the moment, which I probably for me is HB. I would say. I think they can still. They've not lost as much, and they've gained a little bit as well in some other areas. Want to see HP Position Design combos will lead us. Position Design, is that the name of the ID?
That's the ID. Yeah. I played a game with it today. I think it was one of the only games I won today. I played quite a lot, and it does feel good. It does.
It does. I mean, I think all the IDs look pretty nice. And I think all see play, which is good. So that's what you want from those gateway cards. You want them to be good for new players, but also actually have them see some play, because you never know. Someone may have a gateway, may want to go to a tournament, and you don't want them to be completely stomped up with recognition. So it's good to have them.
And much the same as we've had, and we've been saying about Data Raven, and it's a loss, and it's been with us the whole time. For new players, by gateway, 5-6 years down the line, I remember the first game I won with Restoring Humanity. What a card that used to be. And then when it finally cycles out or rotates, they'll be sad to see it go, much the same as we were about other cards. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I would say, apart from stuff like Hedge Fund and Shore Gamble, I think, things will always change. Not very few exceptions to that rule. And I think that's good. You want to sort of change things up, move things around. And we've always still got Eternal. you've always got Eternal, you've always got other formats people can play just to play the things again. And there's been lots of cards that I've loved in the past that have gone away, and you find new cards to love.
Yeah.
Except for Brainstorm. When Brainstorm goes, I'm just going to have a vigil and just mourn for that a month.
Light a candle. Yeah.
Yeah, I like many candles. Probably 9 candles. 9 candles feels correct amount to light.
Yeah. Yeah, probably is about right. Yes. Anything else you wanted to talk about, Rotage? Rotage, didn't get to eulogise Hyperdriver. I think you said you're quite happy to see it go, aren't you?
It depends. See, I play this fun game of like, I hate diaper, I love diaper, which is kind of true actually. I had to face 3 diapers in a tournament. I was like, this is absolute bullshit. Why am I facing this shit? And realised, was I making everyone else suffer this much? It's kind of nice it's gone, because I don't have to worry about diaper list anymore, because with that gone, that's kind of dead now. I think about the clickability is kind of it's a mute point, because Egret is potentially something you could do some nonsense with Euler, but without the clicks, don't know what you really do with it, and obviously without any way to hit anything, again I don't know what you do. So I'm not too sad. I think I think I accepted that loss as soon as we had I think the first rotation, I think, when we lost full second. That deck kind of died anyway at that point, so I've accepted it. But I think Brainstorm Game will make me probably more sad, because I still love that card.
It's a lovely card. I've played it on stream before. It was fun. Yeah.
Did you win?
Well, thanks. I didn't. No. Did I win?
Oh.
Actually, did I win that one? No, I didn't. No.
I mean,
I didn't.
Winning is when Brainstorm fires. If Brainstorm fires, then you win, as far as I'm concerned.
I actually fired Brainstorm and still didn't win.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The Value Brainstorm. I think I've done some of those before. Value Brainstorm, or you res Brainstorm and they had some funky way you hadn't seen in breaking, which is the saddest thing. When that happens.
Yeah. Well, thanks ever so much for joining today, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And thanks very much for every day you put in your streams out for everyone. It's really appreciated the work you're doing. And thanks for doing that. And just keep up the great work.
Yeah. No, it's been a ton of fun. It's nice just chatting Netrunner, especially in a time where we can't go down to the pub and have a chat with people. It feels very social. And thanks everyone in the chat for joining in as well. I'm sorry we had a lot to talk about today, and probably I didn't get into the chat as much as I normally would. But no, thanks everyone for joining, because it does feel like it's a nice little community get together. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to go and grab myself some dinner. You'll take care, have a lovely evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow with Aki. And we'll be talking about tournaments and prizes and all those sorts of things. So something to really look forward to. Take care all. Have a good night.